So here in this image, okay, this is the original picture, and this is its original size. And okay, and then what you can see here is that after some alterations, kicked up the red that's in the sand, which is the iron. I even know this looks a little more like Alain sand because it's a little more red than the sand on this side. So I even remember that's one of the first things I noticed when I first went to Alain was how much more red the sand was. So you can always tell, even here in Khalifa City when they're doing building and things like that, and when they bring in sand from Alain, you can tell it's just super red. And that's the iron content in it, but not science class. So a couple things that happened between these images as well is that it was cropped, which cut for the most interesting part, and then adjustments were made to color and contrast and those sorts of things. So, all right, so this, right now, let's just look at a couple of functional things, because then, yeah, we'll see how much time we got. We'll do a couple functional things. So what you can see up here in the title, so this is, it's Fossil Dunes 3. It's a JPEG. That's the format. This is only 8.33% of the actual size. So if we go to 100%, which there's a magnifying glass tool down here, and I've apparently got all these little help things on, so that's good. This is the zoom tool. If I click it twice, that has now taken me to 100%. Okay, that is super close. Now, also what happens, just for you to be aware of, if you've never noticed, and my apologies for to the people who know all this, but when a file has this asterisk in it, okay, this one doesn't. This is the other file, there's no asterisk. What that means is something happened that could be saved. So this change of view is what has changed. So if I do file save, okay, so this is showing me JPEG's options. I always save as the largest file. Quality 12 is the highest number. Okay, so I'm saving it, so there it goes. And the fact that it took it a little while says that this is a huge picture, okay? With the magnifying glass, if I pull it in or I push it out, okay, it zooms in and out, okay? So that's just me moving the mouse, okay? If I hold the space bar down, I can move around the picture. Right? I could also press the Option key on the keyboard, and it becomes a minus, and then if I click, and if I click when it's plus, or you do this kind of stuff, and you do it with the mouse more organic. Okay, so that's sort of some of the functional things. And with this, got to remember to do the space bar to move it around. Okay. All right. So talking about, all right, so you may have noticed, now what specifically makes Illustrator and Photoshop different? Photoshop deals with bitmaps. Photographs are bitmaps. So what that means is they're little tiny squares that when they're all put together, we imagine it's a picture. So each one of those little squares has 32 bits of information. Okay, it has 8 bits red, 8 bits green, 8 bits blue, 8 bits transparency. Now, what that means is every one of those dots holds a lot of information. So when a picture is very large, the picture is very heavy. I mean, if you could print it and post it on the side of a wall, that is a giant picture. It needs to be, because it's made up of all of these dots. So each one of these dots, let's see, wow, okay, that's as close as I can go. 12,800% zoom. But what you can see is each dot is a different color. There is actually, the computer does not know it's a picture. All it knows is it's a collection of dots. Okay, so that what happens is when we zoom back out by going up, okay, we start to see things. I can sort of see a face or something. I'm not sure what I'm seeing. But as we move farther out, those dots are connected together and take shapes. It is still, in spite of the fact that we now see this formation of calcified sand, okay, that's not what it is. It is a collection of dots. It's our brains telling us that it's a picture. For the absoluteness of the computer, it's dots. So when we say we're dealing with bitmapped images, so Photoshop files will nearly always be much bigger, much heavier is the phrase I use, than Illustrator files. Now, if we take a Photoshop photograph and put it into Illustrator, it will make that a bigger file. But if something was pure Illustrator. So the way I manipulate this, way I'm manipulating the image is via the dots. So I'm changing the dots. It grabs them, it alters them, and it's not really altering the picture. It's altering the color of those individual dots. So here, I'm at 21.4%. And if you remember, when we saw it full screen, it was like 8. Okay, so there's 9. But, okay. So that's zooming in and out, and you can do manipulation. Now, when we go over to Illustrator, okay, Illustrator, let's go. Flip degree auto check. Here, we'll do some fun. It's not too huge. So here, these are not terribly complex. Wait, now I can't see my controls. There we go. Okay. So we can, yep, we should be able to. Maybe we can't. Okay, so we can zoom in the same way. And you see there, I'm at 1,238. I hold the space bar. Okay. But these, we could keep zooming in. Here, whoa. If we keep zooming in, we won't ever, you'll see imperfections. Look at that, that's horrible. Now I feel like I need to fix it. You can see imperfections, but there's no dots. Okay, everybody, there's no dots. That's because Illustrator works on what are called vectors. Okay, so by meaning vectors, if I click on this, it's lines. So Illustrator creates pictures. Okay, so it's not a photograph, it's graphics. That's why you can work with text better here. When you create things in Illustrator, it creates these lines with anchors and all these things. These are mathematical calculations. These are not collections of dots. If the computer were programmed in the right way, it would recognize these shapes as shapes because they are, and they are mathematically generated. So we'll use Mr. Hand here. We'll go over to the helicopter just to show you. So even these things that appear tiny, there's a huge amount of detail in there. Okay. I'll show you this in 100% in a second. And if I continued zooming in, come on, to this pattern in the background, there's no loss of resolution. In fact, we find out that that little tiny thing has all the information you need to make a larger thing. Okay, because if Command 0, I go to 100%. No, it didn't. Yeah. All right, sorry. I'm back. It's okay. Okay. All right. It happens in a real classroom. Let's go back. Wait, share screen. Okay, so let's put that away. Okay, so you can see that they operate very differently, and that's why they're different tools. Traditionally, Illustrator would have been a drawing program, and when they first started out, that's what they called them. And Photoshop was a painting program. Before it was sort of recognized, I'm talking about early 90s, late 80s, that you could work with photos in this way. They called them drawing and painting programs. So one was doing bitmaps. And that means they act differently. Okay, do you guys have any questions on that, or? Okay. Let me see. No, Aine has no questions. All right. All right, in general, no questions. So, all right, now I'm completely distracted. Okay. Move some of this stuff out. Okay, there we go. All right, so where we see that My voice is cracking. Where we see that is actually, if you want to see how big or small it is, then you see that under image. So we can look at image size, and the image size is in this particular, so this is measured in pixels, okay? It is 7,360 pixels high by 4,912 pixels wide. You won't have that measurement in Illustrator at all. Illustrator, you'll either say how big the page is or the area is, or you will you'll just use standard paper sizes. You got, okay, you choose what we work with. Well, you're going to be working with photographs, so to optimize those photographs, you're going to do that in Photoshop, and then you're going to do an Illustrator. Now, I know there's some online tools and things. You can use those, okay? But just as long as you can get the same results. For most of those tools, it'll probably turn out fine, but Rochelle paid full price for Canva because my daughter had Canva and she thought it looked very easy to use, and it turned out it wasn't. It has a lot of automatic things in it that doesn't give you control. When you learning to use Photoshop and Illustrator, it gives you have much more opportunity for control. There are some things that are automated and things like that. But if you want to be a power user, and quite often or not, I don't know how often anymore, but back in the day, and I think recently, if you were going for a job in an organization, they wanted you to design pamphlets, different things, some communication, and you say you have some skill in making those things, job will say Photoshop/Illustrator experience a plus, or InDesign, or whatever. So there are advantages to knowing how to use these tools, and it can help you get a job. It could help you on a job. You could be on an internship and they might need something to be made or done, and if you could do it, then then your employers or potential employers will be very impressed. Okay. So sorry, I have to show you the puppy. Oh, now he's walking around. There he is. Okay, I can control this like a camera. There's Dodger. Dodger's sitting nicely, making trouble. That's what, okay. He's quiet. Okay, I'll go back. Sorry, I'm distracted. Okay, so what I will do on Wednesday is full on into all the tools in Photoshop. Okay, I'm going to basically take an image. I think I'll do something different than this one because I did it before. And I will show you the things I can do in Photoshop, and I will focus that all toward building your poster. So I will have a photograph and we'll build from there. Okay?
Yes, okay, great.
Okay, so I will be showing you what Photoshop does, but I will be doing it completely connected to what you're going to be doing in your project. Because there's some things about aspect ratio that if I jump in it now, it's going to be too much of a hurry. So what I'm also going to do right now is I'm going to create a new class activity that I'm going to leave up for several days, probably for a week or more. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to post images, your ideas for the background, the sort of heart of your poster. Okay, I haven't uploaded all those examples yet. My apologies. And I do have some demo stuff, and I have my own examples of some variations on how to do posters. And I'll show you some of that next time, but I won't spend quite as much time on that up front, and we'll start building the poster. So, and I'll get you, because it is important to understand the differences of the two tools and bitmaps versus vectors, and that is important to know. And it's also important to know things about aspect ratio, because when you mess with them, if all of a sudden you thought, why do I look so fat? That's because somebody flattened out your image. How did I get so skinny? Somebody may have squeezed your image, different things like that. We'll talk about those factors, and then messing with color and those sorts of things. So we'll build from there. But what I'm going to do right now is go into Blackboard, and let's go to discussion. Okay. And I'm going to create a form, so we're going to create. So that's partially why I showed you previously how to upload a picture file. I want the file inside the post. So not attached. This will. Yes, absolutely, Aim. You can. All right. That's why I wrote at least 3. Okay. All right. So it's available. I'm going to leave it totally open right now. I'm not even going to put a limit on it. So, and I'll tell you before it's going to close. So you could start working on that now. You can start looking around. Remember, okay, so that's the idea in activity 1 that's closed, but to post the picture inside, okay? So 3 possible images that you could use in the background. Now, the advantage of doing this is that while we're working through the sort of the Photoshop tutorial, memorial, refresher, whatever, you can be working with those images, your favorite one or whatever. You can work with your own images. You don't have to worry about it. I want you to have images that are your own, meaning from you're not necessarily going out and taking them, but someone close to you, family, or your own photo that you've taken on a trip. Do not take pictures from the internet in general, because the bitmaps, they will be too small for A3. A3 is a reasonably, okay, it looks a reasonably large size. It's a small poster, twice the size of A4 or paper. So this is posted there. You can start thinking. You can post these one at a time, however you want to do it. Put activity 2 in your title. Your name is automatically connected, and then post them. And even if you have thoughts, positive or negative, about the images, why you would or wouldn't want to use, if you want to tell a story behind it, which is sometimes good, but because then we know why that picture, and then that can help me help you think about how you might deal with it. Okay, so we're gonna call that a wrap for today. So you've got to have at least one by next class on Wednesday, because that way you're working on something that is of value to you rather than just random images. Yeah. Okay. So thanks everybody for coming. I feel like, okay, and let me reiterate again, if you will work with me, I will help you do well in the class. And I'm not talking about cheating, helping you do well. I will give you feedback. Yeah, I'll do it. Everybody was here. I've heard attendance. Sorry, that's what I'm responding to. Because everybody actually was here. So I will help you, and if you will listen to me, I'm going to tell you what makes it work, and etc. So this is also about listening. Yeah, you can put them up today, now, whatever. Yeah, whenever you want, and then I can come over to the class and take a look at it, and then I can make comments. Hopefully, classmates might make comments. Cool picture. Where'd you take it? Whatever you want to write, and just interact with you about that picture. Okay, so I think that's good. Right up to time. Good thing I started winding down before. All right, thanks guys, and we will see you on Wednesday.